Hello, and welcome to Waiting for Game, a podcast presented by Melee Stats. I am your host, Gaming.Wheat, and we are back again. I know I did promise in our last episode that we would be back last week, but our good friend Edwin Budding, he was on a little bit of a trip. He is in not the Great White North, because that's Canada, but he was in another Great White North country. But we've got an episode today. We've got an episode. We're going to talk about SmashCon. We're going to talk about Shine. We are kind of in the thick of the dog days of summer of Smash, and we've got a lot of Smash to talk about. So we've got a really great guest here. We've got someone who I think like one of the more interesting personalities in Melee. Definitely a personality that like a lot of people latch onto, and a figure that is in recent times challenging gender norms. And I'm, of course, talking about my good friend, Edwin Budding. Hello, Edwin.
What's going on, Wheat? I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to represent America on the show. You know me, the great big patriot. I'm really happy to be talking to you about Melee. I feel like we just have so much to catch up on. We have so much to talk about coming up. And I'm really happy that Zamu is here to join us to talk about Melee and celebrate Girl Month.
Yeah, someone has to represent masculinity in the scene.
True. It's not me, it's not Edwin.
No,
that's for sure.
No chances of me.
And to pull back the curtain, it's not our producer JDMH. We usually don't reference him, but when you talk about how there's no masculinity, I think it's important to bring him up. Anyway, Zamu, we have you here. It's a week after, or an episode after Zuppy, so we are moving ourselves up the ladder alphabetically from last to hopefully ZAIN is next. I doubt it, but it's always good to have you. So we have a little bit to catch up on. We did not have a SmashCon recap episode, so we have to talk about that. We have to talk about Shine, obviously. These are events that you went to SmashCon, you went to Shine. So I want to ask you, Zamu. We hung out there a little bit. Not to brag, but what was your SmashCon experience like, and how do you view the tournament as a tournament? Because this is something where it's been one of the biggest tournaments in terms of pure entrance for Melee for a while. Obviously, Ultimate's been like their biggest tournament, their premier tournament. But as we go into next year, when there's no Shine, it's kind of expected that SmashCon is going to take a larger role as like the premier August major, the premier summer major. So what were your experiences here, and what were your thoughts on the series itself?
Yeah, so the line that I kept saying all of SmashCon, every time anything didn't run perfectly, or anytime I was moderately annoyed about the event, I just kept, or anytime anyone was annoyed, because there were a lot of like little hiccups. Nothing seemed too crazy bad, but it wasn't great. I just kept saying, it is called SmashCon. It is not called Smash Tournament. So do not expect it to be a good tournament. And, like, it's fine. There's a lot of people there. And this time, the setups were there for, like, the whole time, which was great. That was my biggest complaint with SmashCon, however many years back I went. But I think it's, like, it's kind of an annoying tournament. In my 2 times going there, neither time was I like, what a great tournament. And I don't care about the con, and I think that's the common sentiment between among almost all the Melee competitors that I talk to. They're all like, well, it's kind of like just not the effort is not meant to necessarily go into making the Melee tournament amazing, and that's fine. But it does feel that way.
It is a really interesting event. This is my first time going, actually. I was supposed to go last year, but tummy issues happened, and I decided to stay home. And then the second I decided to stay home, I watched Wally beat ZAIN, so I thought that the universe was telling me I made the right decision. But yeah, I went to this one, and I did kind of go into it. Yeah, like you're saying, I went into it with really low expectations. I obviously think that like having a big tournament this size and in a region that especially after VGBC has not really been running tournaments this year, in a region that's not really represented with big tournaments, I think it's really great. But I would be lying if I said that I like went into this with the expectations I go into Genesis or Big House or Gommel or Shine or whatever with. I was not expecting it to be the same, and I came out like pretty pleasantly surprised in some aspects. And like you said, yeah, I think there are some places where like it is very clear that this is not their main focus is not a tournament, and like nothing is more clear than like how many people there are. and how
So
many
many.
children there are. Like, if anything, they are suffering from success, and I think that, yeah, you have a very good outlook on it, is that, like, there are a lot of times that it was very apparent to me that, like, the problems that this tournament is running into are, like, pretty uniquely SmashCon problems. I was working the tournament, so I had a lot of people come up to me and ask, where do they borrow controllers so they can play? And I was like, damn, that is a question that I would not get asked at, like, every other tournament. And that's obviously like a good thing, right? It's more people in the scene. But, like, yeah, walking around the tournament, you'll see a lot of people in cosplay. You'll see a lot of children. You'll see a lot of things that you normally would not see at a tournament. And I think for that reason, you're right. It is kind of like straddling the line between con and tournament. And it's a little bit of both. And I think that, like, yeah, if there's any cons to the con, it's probably the fact that it is, like, so much of a convention and also a tournament at the same time, and it's not really picking a lane. But I mean, I don't know. I enjoy myself. Edwin, you've never been to SmashCon, right?
No, I've never gone. This year I was tempted to go, but I had already given my word to Taraz earlier that I would go to Festa if it happened again. So when it happened again, I went to Festa over in the land of public transportation, nice walkable roads, healthcare, and a lot of waiting in line. But
Queuing.
Cute.
yeah, queuing,
There we go.
Queuing tickets, don't get me started on that. That queuing tickets, you see this flag that I'm wearing here? That single-handedly made me want to, like, carry around the big red, white, and blue everywhere I went, and to
The Norwegian flag.
yeah, the Norwegian flag, and to defeat every strong European player I could find. But yeah,
I mean,
no,
you're American. I think the free you would kneel down to you. But yeah, like,
well,
I want to hear about your experiences there. But also, before we get to that, what are your thoughts on SmashCon as someone who's never gone? Right, from the outside looking in, I do think that they are not viewed as, like, the cool kids. Right, it's not.
No.
Like, obviously, BTS, something like that, were like, had a very good reputation. And I don't think that SmashCon has been afforded that same reputation as something like Mainstage, which is, like, an objectively smaller tournament.
Look, I mean, it's like Zamu said. It's in the title. This is a convention. It's meant to be for people to go with their families or go check out and, like, learn things about Smash and have a good time. It's not built for the competitive experience or the ideal competitive experience in mind for, like, late bracket. And for that matter, I would add that it's and this is a very selfish complaint of me, but, I was trying to watch this tournament. We had internet on the island and everything, and I'm just going to say a lot of just classic sets are lost to time from the Melee side because they were busy streaming all this other shit.
And
that
it was
I
on
didn't care about.
GameCubes.
It was on GameCube.
It was on GameCubes, which also resulted in, like, more, like, 1.03 setup stuff. And like, just,
I did hear
like,
about
little
that.
stuff like that. And there's just no Slippy files. And it's like, whatever. I think that's it's like a fine compromise to make, to not get, like, shot in the head by Nintendo. Instead, you just get, like, shot in the foot or something. It's chill.
I also heard that Kador and Aklo, they accidentally played a set with Frozen Stadium and that off stream and then declined to replay it.
It was on the side stream. Yeah, this
stream.
is out there.
So
yeah.
it is on record that they played on Frozen Stadium.
Yeah, we talked to Kadoran about it after, and he was just like, yeah, like, when it was, like, 6 minutes and 30 seconds in, I was wondering why it wasn't transforming. And obviously the Marth player is not going to say anything, but I guess,
No, of course not.
like, I was like, I guess we talked to the wrong person. But no, they neither of them really cared, and I think it's one of those things, like, it's super obvious. I think if that's the case, if you play that out, it's obviously easy to forget, like, if, maybe, especially if a lot of the tournament's best of 3 up until that point, you might not remember. You might not be playing on Stadium a lot if you're a Fox player, right, necessarily. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's a little bit of a fuck-up, but, like, we've had bigger ones in tournaments before. So.
And I want to be clear, like, because it's SmashCon, I'm not expecting it to be the prime stream experience for a Melee spectator, right? This is something that's clearly, they're going to stream all the major grand finals of the other games. I had a blast catching up on what happened with 64, personally. Just a lot of really cool stories. Isaiah winning a Super Major, a ton of Japanese players doing well. Boom coming back and playing his new characters and everything. 64 was fun. I did hear that Brawl ran an incredibly long time, which I think is funny because you would think that's part of the plan, right? Like that surely they have this time dedicated for Brawl. Just so that they, the best case scenario is that I have extra time to set up Melee. that clearly did not happen. So me 6 hours ahead or whatever, I was a little pissed about it, but I understand that I am not the audience, spectator wise or entrant wise, for SmashCon. If it comes back next year, I still want to go to experience the variety content and all the different things there. I tuned into the Smashies for whatever it's worth, or I didn't tune into it live, but I caught up with it after the fact. Seemed fun. I heard that the bar, there was like a bar or something, or like a basic place where people hung out after the event, or when they weren't like, you know, sweaty gaming in the venue or whatever. So you know what, I want to say that if I went to SmashCon, let me put it this way. I would want to go to the event. I would not go into it expecting it to be a shine, which I think is the total polar opposite of the event. But I think SmashCon fulfills its role in the community. I think it's fine. I think it's a fun event.
Yeah. I want to get back to the bar real quick because I need to hear Zamu's. I was there for some of the Zamu stories, but I need these to be relayed to the public. But real quickly, yeah, I don't know. SmashCon's an interesting event. I think that it is good that we have an event that caters to people like who are in the area. Because if you think about it, the majority of people who go to these tournaments, maybe not the majority, but like a very huge number of the people who go to like Genesis probably flew there, probably are not local. I could not say that's the case for SmashCon. I think that SmashCon, more than any other major tournament, is so represented by the community of people there. It's a lot of just like, oh, yeah, it's like a thing to do on the weekend for your families there. And while that might not be, you know, simpatico with our debaucherous, leftist, evil, demonic lifestyles that we choose to live, it is very cool that we have an event that still caters to that. And also, you know, in the wake of the final shine, like, I'm not going to be coy. It's cool that we have an event that obviously makes money. Like, going to the future, we've seen a lot of events that have not been making money and have since had to shut down. I don't really know SmashCon's books. Can't say I do. However, it was clear from being there that it is a popular, well-attended tournament. And so if there's anything to make money, I bet it's them. I know that... I think that they're going to be on a good path. I worked the event, but like I'm down to say if it sucks shit. But I think that like this was probably a transition year because they got a lot of good people on really quickly. Like I know Mikey started working the event in like August, and Gallant Gaming got brought on in late July. So, and I was asked to work it also in August, like really, really close to the event. So I think that if you bring on, like, they're bringing on the right people. I think Deer is a great person to bring on. Mikey's a great person to bring on to make the experience there great. Deer obviously has a lot of good ideas on how to run stuff. They're both very well versed in running very well liked majors. I think if they get brought on with enough run time to like make big decisions on schedule and stream schedule and stuff like that, I don't think there's a reason why we keep viewing SmashCon as the lame major. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say that I felt like almost none of the problems of the event were due to the people running Melee. It was all of that was like done really well. It's not Mikey or Deer's fault that my pool didn't have enough chairs for doubles, and one of the setups was on 1.03, and like the pool captain was a volunteer from Ultimate that like didn't really know what was going on because like there weren't enough Melee volunteers. It's like that is not like the TO's, like the Melee people's fault.
Yeah, for sure.
And so like because, with all things considered, it ran very solidly, which is good because when tournaments run bad.
I think they had the right people who were kind of running off someone else's playbook, right? A lot of this, they came in and these things are already kind of set. I think that if the people who they have running it, like who ran it this year, have decisions and how it gets run before everything kind of gets finalized, then yeah, I think that would be a really good tournament. I think that the stuff like, you know, kind of the thing that kind of like made the tournament shitty, which was scheduling, planning, game cubes. I think that stuff like that could be fixed. That being said, I went to the tournament. I thought it was going to be kind of lame. I was not expecting much of it, and I thought it was going to be this little stopgap, and I just work it. It's, it's a little bit of a payday, and then I go to Shine and have fun. I had a blast. It was all extracurricular, of course, but I had a really great time, and part of that was because there's a great atmosphere there. And Zamu, how did you enjoy yourself after the tournament?
Oh, so after the tournament, maybe it's like 3 p.m. on Saturday. Just lost to Asashi. Immediately, I'm just like
Off stream.
Thanks,
Thank
bro.
God.
Walking around angry. I see Mango, and I'm like, Mango, do you know where like a bar is or where I can get a drink? He was like, oh, you need a power up? And I was like, no, I need to drown my sorrows. He was like, yeah. The two amigos next door has a bar. And I was like, oh, duh, yeah, thanks. And so immediately go there, drink a little bit, and I was like, no one was there. The bar was just me. And then a few minutes later, Trail walked in. And so then I drank with Trail, and that was nice. But I feel like after the tournament, after Sunday, Sunday was good this year. So I actually went climbing with my sister Sunday morning because she lives in DC, and I hadn't seen her since like Christmas. So that was super cool. And then I came back and played Melee, of course. Which I was able to do, which I was not able to do the previous SmashCon. The previous SmashCon that I was at, the setups were long gone, like whenever Melee Top 8 started, there were like all the setups were gone. So that's sick because we all love gaming. But yeah, so Sunday night is a bit of a blur, but so I leave the venue eventually. I'm bored. I'm like, maybe I'll find people to hang out with. And I was like kind of walking over to two amigos to go drink alone again. When I'm there, I see across the way someone whose hair I could recognize from a distance. I'm like, that's Malachi and a big group of people in the parking lot. So I walked over to see what was up. Did not know a single person there except Malachi. But smoked a little weed with him, and then I was like,
Very Malachi experience.
Yep. And I was like, well, what now? So then I walk back to the venue, because what else am I going to do? And I run into Deer and Clem, and they're like, hey, Zamu, we're going to the brewery. You want to come? I was like, yes. And so then we went to the brewery, where Gimme That Wheat was there.
Hello.
And it was a cool place. And then from there, we went back to the venue, and then
you guys go back to the venue. I do not.
You
I'm
don't.
Like,
yes.
I said I don't know what you guys are going to do at the venue. I'm not watching Ultimate. I'm cutting my losses. I'm going to sit in my bed.
Honestly, a theoretically good call. And so yeah, so Wheat goes back, and then back to his hotel. I go back to the venue with Walt and
Deer
and
Mikey.
Clem. And I don't know. I know Walt drove the car. But go back to the venue, which is really to go to the Hooters, which is nearby. Now all of a sudden I'm in this Hooters. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like existing, trailing people, and like, okay. So then we're at Hooters. All of a sudden there's some pool party brought up. And
yeah.
Then we go there. And so while there, I don't know if I would, before then, I was kind of looking for people to wrestle. I was trying to fight. And so while I was there, I was asking a lot of people. I would just kind of, so how I lead is I just kind of go up to someone who looks like they could be a fun opponent. I'm like, hey, how much do you weigh? And then
Normal question.
Yeah, very normal question. And okay, so Sparkin Med is the one person who defeated me in our wrestling match. And so at the party, I asked him, and he looked very strong. I asked him, I'm like, how much do you weigh? He's immediately like, around 150. Within 30 seconds, his estimate gets down to 136. It was very funny. I wish I remembered more of how that happened. But I was like, you do not look like you weigh 150. He's like, maybe like 140, 145. I was like, I weigh 130. I'm thinking if like whether or not we'd be a good wrestling match. It's like I probably 136. And so like that was like an idea. Didn't really wasn't coming to fruition. The wrestling there wasn't wrestling at the party. Nah, it was just drinking, having fun. But then we depart from the party. Oh, I wasn't even gonna leave. I was signed up for a crew battle. There was gonna be a crew battle with a bunch of people.
Man.
Yeah, a bunch of people are like gonna be in this crew battle. All my stuff is in Walt's car because I didn't want to lose it. So I was like, please just make sure you find me before you go. It's like, I'm going. I was like, all right, I'll go grab my stuff. Go to the car, get in to kind of like grab all my stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to get out of the car. Like I could just stay. So all of a sudden I'm in the car going back to Two Amigos. We got an hour before last call. So go there and keep drinking. And whenever I drink, and honestly whenever I'm sober, I just want to like run around and like exercise. And so like at the party there was a pull-up bar. There was actually a whole workout room, but I forgot to go back in it after I found it. I was so excited to find it. Because I had instantly when I entered the basement, actually not even, whenever I walked onto the property, I was looking for a place to do pull-ups. Could not find one. And then I accidentally
you asked like me, Gio, you were hanging out, and you asked us. You're just like, you guys can just like lift weights while I'm doing pull-ups. Like you just wanted someone there.
I did. I just wanted someone to join me. But then I forgot about it, and now all of a sudden at Two Amigos, boom, a lot of people were all drinking, and so I just started like asking people if they want to wrestle. I wrestled 3 people. One of them, I do not remember his name. His name might have been Mark, but maybe not. And then Beeman, and then Spark and Met. And I was trying to wrestle Mango, but he was like, no. I was like, how much do you weigh? It's like, I tried to wrestle Gio first, and he's like, no, I weigh 190. I was like, okay. I has Mango, and he's like, also no. But yeah, so I wrestled people. It was so much fun. And so that's kind of my current. That's why SmashCon was so fun. It was so fun. Tournament, terrible. Hate it. Like not the tournament in terms of how it was ran or anything. My tournament was terrible. My controller, I had problems. That shit all sucked, and it could have been one of my worst tournament weekends. But luckily, I happened to run into Deer and Clem randomly.
Mm-hmm. And you got to wrestle people.
Yes. I'm going to be so disappointed if I don't get to wrestle anyone at Shine.
Edwin?
How much do you weigh?
Like 160.
I'll wrestle you.
He's bulking up, yeah. You're bulking up to try to get away from Zamu.
No, I'm actually trying to lose weight, but that's very funny. It's very funny. I'll see what I can do in the next 4 days. When we hang out tomorrow and this weekend, don't be surprised if I'm just gorging on more food than normal.
Yeah, you have like stones in your pocket just in case Zamu comes around with a scale.
Yeah. That would be a funny thing for me to start bringing to a tournament. It's just like scale.
You like, well, when you're talking to someone, especially at these cons where it's like a huge open space, like it can be in the venue. I remember like day one, it was just a group of people. Then suddenly we started like shifting backwards. I didn't even realize it, but just like talking and kind of like walking just a little, like your feet move and then suddenly you're a couple inches backwards. I think you put a scale behind someone, you start talking to them and just like inch them backwards. They don't even know. Anyway, Edwin, what are your thoughts on SmashCon now after this story? Has it changed?
No, not really. I don't think my thoughts on SmashCon changed at all, but my thoughts on Zamu's experience at SmashCon being preserved, of like having the fun value, the not regretting going to the event or anything. It fills me with happiness and gives me hope for the future. I'm glad that you were able to find something in the every event kind of has its own little like web of different people and relationships that you have to navigate in different locations where things happen. And I'm glad that you managed to find that at this event after being at a low point.
Yeah. Every time I lose, I don't know if this is necessary. Maybe not every time I lose. Very often when I lose, I've never been punched in the face, actually. But I would love nothing more than someone just to punch me in the head as hard as they can. And that's like how I feel after, like, whenever I lose, especially in losers, especially if it's a set that I, like, am disappointed in myself. I'm just like, I would love to fight someone. Mostly I want to get hit, but it would be fun to fight, so it's like, may as well do both. But yeah, so then it's like, gotta find someone to wrestle. Took me 24 hours, but
you want to get hit, you're not mad if you hit someone. You wouldn't turn down hitting someone.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
guess navigate this one.
I want
carefully.
an enjoyable, safe, consensual, well, that's why wrestling's nice. It's hard. It's way harder to like hurt yourself wrestling or hurt someone wrestling. But I mean, find me at a low point, I will bare knuckle box for sure.
Well, you're going to shine. Any of the listeners, if Zamu does really well, maybe it's wrestling. If Zamu unfortunately does poorly, then maybe it's a bare knuckle box. I say go, as long as you know with the knowledge of what you're getting into, go for it. That being said, so we talked a lot about the experience of SmashCon, which I think is really fun to talk about because, I think a lot of the feelings that people in Melee have is that it's like not really a profoundly fun tournament, but it's always good to hear like the stories that can happen there. And it's like, I don't know. I believe that it is going to be a bigger part of Smash as we kind of go into next year. So I think that it's good to hear these things. But it was also a tournament. As much as it was a con, as much as it was an experience, it also was a tournament. And this was a tournament that had a lot of top players here. J-Mook, obviously, notably absent. Plup, obviously absent. Leffen pulled his I just won Evo in a different game card and did not go. But we had a lot of the top talent here. And, as something that's becoming more and more likely, this resulted in a ZAIN win. And, Edwin, what do you think about ZAIN's win here?
Where do I start?
Crazy he went down 0-2 versus HBox.
I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Grand Finals is very fun, very silly, but extremely fun. It's different than your typical ZAIN Hungry Box set. I'll
For sure.
give the both of them that. Yeah, I mean, just a pretty dominant showing. He beat Cody again, which is very good. I would consider Cody. There's probably about like 3 people that he could beat at a tournament, and I would be maybe not surprised, but that I think is a significant step forward. Like, I think beating Cody, Amsa, J-Mook, if he beats one of those 3, I think it's a step forward, and his head-to-heads against them and, like, a notably good thing.
Damn, Leffen erasure.
Well, Leffen's not around, so... but yeah, I think,
Rude.
like, getting one on Cody's very good. Withstanding Hungrybox for the 8 millionth time is great, even if expected. And the way that it happened this time was pretty entertaining. Beating Moku again, pretty solid. It's funny though. ZAIN's win obviously is getting the headlines, but when SmashCon was happening, and when I was watching it and talking about it with other people at Festa and everything, one of the common occurring things that I kept bringing up, and I like to think that people agreed with me on this and that they weren't secretly just annoyed that I kept saying this all the time. I mean, they probably were, but who cares? One of the things I kept saying, I thought Top 32 was very interesting in how cursed it was. It really felt that every possible scenario of a set where I wanted someone to win, they ended up losing. And every possible scenario of someone I wanted to win, like winning, it happened in a really cursed way. And in every set that felt like good versus evil, it always felt like evil came up on top. It was really impressive, just the consistent amount of like this consistent lack of hope that kept rearing its head throughout Top 32. I mean, I can just like look at some of these results, for instance, but like I think that I think that Mech beating Billy Bo Peep is a pretty good instance of, there not being hope in the world. I think that
Mech just getting ninth here in general. Like
Yeah,
no, you could take that as shade, but Ganon shouldn't be getting that close to top 8.
Yeah, Mech bringing Mango to Game 5 and maybe the most fraudulent Game 5 of all time, just based on how the set was going. Zuppy losing to Doclu on FD and then suddenly destroying Kadoran on that stage and losers for 9th stage. Just a very bizarre result. It felt like that throughout top 32 we were just brought in like a portal to this like Eldritchian realm where these things with no rhyme or no reason would happen, and when you wanted something, when you were looking for hope, it just never really came to you. And then to top it off, what I thought was the most interesting part of the event in the top 8 was Hungrybox's out of nowhere run through losers, where and the grand final set was very silly, but the way he played against Moki and Cody Schwab was really quite impressive. This is the Hungrybox I have not seen in a long time. And I will say that there's usually two kinds of just being fully transparent here. When Hungrybox wins, there's usually two kinds of ways he wins, right? The first kind of way is very unsatisfying. Like, he holds shield on a side platform for like 7 minutes, or he just ledge camps. It doesn't really work, but it wastes a lot of time, and then he goes back to playing the game, or he goes back to ledge camping, but he does it badly, but he still somehow wins. And then there's a second kind of HBox win, where he's actually, like his edge guarding is on point, he's actually, like, kind of playing the game. He's still camping and playing defense, but it's kind of interesting. Like, he's playing smart defense. Like, it's sort of like turtle play, but it's like proactive, like, interactive turtle play.
There's a lot of defense in the game where it's still, like, very good, interesting melee, and HBox does that a lot.
Yeah, and he did that
but
a lot.
Sometimes it's so lame.
Yeah, I mean, even when it is the way he was doing it at this event was way more interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was interesting and like effective. What I can't stand is like when he gets a stock lead and he sits on the ledge and planks badly for 2 minutes, loses his lead, and then goes back to playing the game. That's what I can't stand. That's a Hungrybox. When I watch him play, I get really annoyed. And I'm like, this guy is wasting our time. But when he's playing like the way he did against Cody and Moki, I mean, it's a completely different player than the one that we've frankly seen through the majority of this year.
I barely watched like any of those sets as they were happening because I was just like playing friendlies, but I always tried to like be at an angle where I could see. I swear every time I looked at the screen during an HBox set, I was like, wow, HBox's execution was so good there. And that's not usually like the thing you think of with Puff or HBox.
No, not at
it's
all.
like, wow, that was such an incredible like there was one edge guard he did versus Cody where it's like that was just like so perfect in every way. The fastball is perfect, the drift is perfect, the timing on the aerial. I'm like, fine, I'll say it. HBox really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the show. We had an article on Monday Morning Marth where we kind of got into, at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of 2023, we got into how many people are going to win majors, and I forget my exact number, but I was like, I think you got to account for HBox getting one. Like, I think no matter how you feel about HBox, and no matter how good you think he is, no matter how bad you think he is, like, you have to account for the fact that he will turn on at some point. And this was definitely the closest to it. Justin, Dark Gen X, was in my ear for a while telling me HBox was going to win. It was right after he accepted the Smashy for something, and then said that feels like being ranked 8 is too low. Dark Gen X just went, he's winning Smash Cup. And I said, no, he isn't. No, he isn't. But which
made it close.
True, he didn't win. But yeah, I mean, it was a very clear difference. And I'm going to bring up... So I got to watch top 8 with Mikey the Cheat because we were, I don't know, making sure nothing blew up. But I saw Zuppy and HBox their first set. They got up there, and I just went, Riz Gap. I unfortunately hate to say it. Sorry, Blake. There was a Riz Gap. His HBox's confidence was just off the charts in the sets that we saw of him in top 8. He looked... I mean, it's like composure is one thing. That's obviously a lot of players like ZAIN's composed, right? HBox is never, like, the best HBox is never composed. And it's actually bad if he seems composed, probably, because he's like a really boisterous guy, and he was doing this, right? He was doing this entire thing. You watch him, he was fucking popping off. I think Zuppy brings him to Stadium twice because it was 3-0. And the first game on Stadium, I leaned over to Mikey and I said, I don't think it transformed. I don't think I didn't see a transformation. I think he just beat him in a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So it's like, HBox is playing so well, and this is this type of thing where, like, it begs the question, is this a flip that he just gets to, or a switch that he can flip, or is this going to be something that we see more of, or is this kind of just, like, the one thing that we see before he goes back to not doing this anymore? Like, we even saw it in Grand Finals, right? He looked, obviously, Game 1, he looked pretty good versus ZAIN. Game 2, there were some interesting little things, but he took the win. Like, he took the win in both games. And then Game 3, he loses, and he does not know what to do. He sits on the counter pick stage, or the stage selection for a little bit, ends up he picks Pokemon, right? He picks Pokemon. Insane. Loses, and then literally has to be told by a TO to pick a stage, because he spends about 90 seconds thinking about where to counter pick ZAIN Game 5 before end up going to Dreamland. This is just like, it is so insane seeing HBox do this at all, but it was so insane with the context of this guy going through his demons with the confidence that we've seen from him at all his major runs, right? It was this thing that we haven't seen in such a long time. He's always a confident guy, right? But, you watch him play versus Cody, and sometimes he's just, like, mentally out of it, and you can kind of tell Cody's has the better of him. He didn't look like this. He didn't look like this versus Moki, versus Zuppy, versus, like, Doc Lee, I don't want to get into it. But like, he had such utter confidence through his play the entire time. And then we end it by him. He, like, literally doesn't know. He's like, where do I take ZAIN? Where do I lose to ZAIN? And, like, we can talk about the rest if we want to. But, like, yeah, Edwin, what do you take from how this run ended? Because it seemed emphatically different than how it
I need to get something immediately out of the way. I cannot hold this in, and this is not something that I can let go of. I need to share it with the world that it is insane. I am telling you as a Marth player. I'm not a master of Marth versus Puff, but I happen to know, like, a little bit how stage selection works. It is unhinged that Hungrybox started on FD and counterpicked him to Stadium. It is so crazy. Those are two stages that, like, Marth wants to go there. It just does, like, I can see there are certain things that he might convince himself are good in the matchup for him on those two stages versus Battlefield or anywhere else.
Yeah, especially with transformations on, maybe. But, like,
it's just, I am telling you, it made no sense to me. And the crazy thing is, in spite of it making no sense to me, the way that Game 4, there were two opportunities for, like, I believe, like, a platform tech chase rest that would have won HBox the set. So it is wild that HBox played so well that, in spite of undermining himself on the stage select screen for 2 games, he almost won the set. Like, it is very possible that if he plays very well and he takes him to Dreamland Game 4, he might win that. Like, it's, let alone the fact that he beat him on FD, which is insane.
Which has been regularly wild. ZAIN's, like,
it's one of
first
his,
counter pick. Fairly often.
It's very good against Puff.
Yeah,
like,
it was very funny.
Yeah, you can run into problems, like, if you don't get a setup on, like, if I could just explain for a second, because it's so mind-blowing to me. Like, if Puff gets a lead, I guess, like, without platforms to maneuver around, or having like, even just, like, threatening her from a different spot is a bit different when you're doing it on the ground versus, like, when you have the platforms around you. But still, like, when you have Jigglypuff in a disadvantage, like, in your Marth, this is, like, one of the few characters that can actually, like, kind of catch her coming down, or, like, contest her drift, or position himself in a way to, like, where she, like, doesn't have options to, like, find a favorable spot. Like, it is a really, like, I'm not saying it's unwinnable, but it's, like, very clearly Marth favor in my opinion. So it's just,
HBox would agree.
It's my, I don't know what was going through his head. I can't understand the decision making process of Clutch God. I don't get it.
I would love to say 2 things about HBox real quick. First of all, so I do not think that he will replicate the success that he had at SmashCon for the rest of the year, because I do not think he will have as conducive of an environment for himself the rest of the year.
Yeah.
HBox beating Zuppy so quick. Every up throw, up air, tech trap, rest, getting the loudest cheers you've ever heard. I will say that also HBox really deserves it. I'm glad that he is getting a chance to like get loud cheers for doing like the easiest shit, because he went through it for years. He got a crab thrown at him. He's been heckled. People have said he's gotten death threats. People have been very mean. So it's like it's pretty nice that he is like getting this now. And if it goes on for like 2 or 3 more years, I'll be mad though. But like he deserves it right now. But it's just like I don't think that full HBox has a lot of fans now. People love watching him play, and I love watching him play. Like I think everyone really enjoyed watching him play at SmashCon. But you never used to be like the super underdog versus HBox, get rested, and the venue blow up hype that HBox is beating you. Never. And that's just not going to happen again at a tournament to the same extent as at SmashCon. And then the other thing I want to say is that I love that HBox is on his spacey player arc. He's like Marth is just, you just can't beat Marth. I don't know.
It's the controller. There's something in Zayn's controller.
He's dweening.
His OEM with a pillow. I think there's something in it.
Shout out to Spark if you want
Zamu.
Your own ZAIN controller. Spark.
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned the unique atmosphere of SmashCon, because I wasn't there, so I can't attest to what you're saying, but I will say this is something I've brought up on the show, especially with regards to being at an event in the current era. What I've noticed is what you bring up is the massive amount of fans that Hungrybox has, and the massive amount, whether it's alt kids or anyone else, just his influence has garnered him a large fandom that you can witness in person. So to me, I go to other events and I see this and I think, wow, times have changed. Like this is really just like the standard now. But what it sounds like that you're saying is that even if that may be the standard now, that the specific environment of SmashCon is like that on stage, like even more than which is crazy to me. I can't imagine that.
And I think Zuppy did a bad job. So Zuppy generally doesn't play with headphones on and things like that. I think that even players that like, if they're like a player that's just like, yeah, I don't play with headphones, I think it's worth like assessing the situation, because I think Zuppy kind of lost. Just like he lost before it started. He just wasn't. It didn't seem like he was kind of, and maybe it's like he made top 8, now he's to play HBox, whatever. Maybe he's not like all in it, but he I don't think he gave himself a chance to be all in it, because you either need to be so like sure in your ability to have HBox stomping next to you and the crowd erupting, and the commentary. The players could hear the commentary to some extent, because it's through the whole venue, and it's like you really need to kind of shape your environment the best you can to be as good for you as you can. And so I think I feel like Zuppy should have worn headphones at the very least. And then it's like I feel like he went into each game really quick, things like that, and it just looked so rough.
And it snowballed from there, right? Yeah, no. I think you're completely right in terms of environment. I don't think HBox is going to find one that's more friendly to him, but also like he's thrived in environments that aren't friendly to him. So we will see if that continues in the future. But yeah, I mean, Edwin, let me tell you, if ZAIN wasn't from like 20 minutes away or however close he lived, if he wasn't that local, HBox was by far the favorite. It wasn't Mango.
Wow.
It was not Moki. Even
That's
that
beyond
really
even what I'm used to.
that really loud guy who kept yelling for Cody. Even that wasn't enough. It was HBox would be the favorite if ZAIN was not from Northern Virginia. That's like I cannot spell it out clear, which is insane, right? Like that is just the environment. And they got like 2,600 ultimate players. You've got a lot of casuals there. This is the environment that he thrives in. But this is like, is this the spark? I guess we don't know because we won't see him at Shine. He's not currently signed up for Riptide. There's not a ton of opportunities in the near future for him to continue this. So we will see. But yeah, I mean, like It's tough. It's tough. How do you assess HBox right now? Because he is a player who, like, when I looked at his ability to win a major, right? Because you have to, like, think he can always win it. It's kind of like he's got the ability to win against anyone, but he has so many matchups that seem so horrible. Cody seems so horrible. ZAIN seems horrible.
I don't think he wins a major with Cody and ZAIN in attendance.
Like, Leffen seems really bad at times. Fuck,
think
man.
Wizro-
If
Wizro
Wizzy,
looks like
if
so
Wizzy's here,
ugly.
Wizzy was at SmashCon.
Wizzy was
Which
at
was the
SmashCon
one-
64.
I wanted to say
unfortunately.
like one last thing about SmashCon. I don't know how soon we're moving off of SmashCon, but I'll say it right now because it's on my mind. Is that it's really cool that so Melee has a lot of a few super majors, a lot of majors each year where all the top players will be there. Like especially Genesis, Big House. But SmashCon was huge, and things like that. 64 has one event per year, and it's SmashCon. It's so sick. I love that Wizzy goes to SmashCon and does. I don't think he's ever entered Melee at SmashCon. Is that a thing?
Don't believe so.
Because it is the one tournament, and that's so sick. It's just like that. I wish Melee. I don't wish Melee was like that, but
No.
it would be kind of cool in a way.
There's definitely aspects of it that would be very interesting, and I'm sure it's like when people say like
It would make
life
your
was so
job
much simpler
easier.
when I didn't have a cell phone. It's like I'm sure it was cool back then. I think to go back to not having a cell phone after this would be infuriating. But yeah, no, it's super cool to see him. I hope that we get to see him in the future. But if there's one thing that's clear, because HBox, how he could do it in majors in the future is not very clear. If there's one thing that's clear is that ZAIN is the guy to bet on at this point, right? Like, it's hard to look at what he's done recently. I know that the Fate thing, people could bring up J-Mook's controller, and I think that's extremely valid. But, like, I wouldn't count that against ZAIN that much necessarily. And his Gauntlet run was amazing. And then he goes into this, and he's not particularly, like, dominating all these sets. Cody obviously did pretty well, and he ends up kind of clutching that in like a 3-1, kind of how he does like versus every Mango set now, basically. And then he's got the reverse 3-0. Like, he's kind of dig himself out of a couple different holes, but he does it. Like, and when it happens, it seems so obvious, right? Like, I was watching it, and I am thinking, maybe it's Cope, but I was thinking, like, I feel like this is a reverse 3-0.
Yeah.
I actually kept saying Reverty 3-0 for some reason.
That's a crazy thing to say.
It was, yeah. Not a thing that people say, Reverty 3-0. But I was just like, Reverty 3-0. I'm calling it. And I know that for me personally, and I think some other people have said this, Blair said it, who's, I guess, a bad source to cite on this one, is that even if HBox hit the rest, it felt like ZAIN was going to win set 2. It felt like it was all in his favor. So I guess the question I have, Zamu, does he get dethroned? He's the #1 player, summer rank this year. Do you think ZAIN gets dethroned by the end of the year?
Okay, so I'll give a very Zamu answer here and say that it doesn't matter if ZAIN gets dethroned. Yeah, sure, maybe someone wins every event for the rest of the year and ZAIN gets ranked 2. ZAIN will be the best player in the world at the end of the year. There's a non-zero chance of like someone. It would feel like someone got very lucky. And like I think there's a chance. I guess there's actually a chance of Cody. There's definitely a world where at the end of the year I'm like, yeah, Cody is the best player in the world. But at this kind of trajectory and rate, it really is. Even though ZAIN, in terms of like winning and results, is not necessarily like super far ahead. He could lose at any tournament for sure.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
could definitely lose any tournament. He also, it feels like, oh, the best player in the world lost at the tournament more than usually, other than Cody sometimes. But for Cody, it really feels like a sometimes thing. For ZAIN, it feels like ZAIN is always kind of the best player in the world. Cody has flashes of like, yeah, he's also just the best player in the world. But it's unlikely he gets dethroned. If it happens, it's probably not going to be like this player is dominantly better than ZAIN. But also that's kind of the nature of he's the #1 player in the world halfway through the year.
True. Edwin, what do you think? I know you've got a lot of thoughts on your Marth, your little Marth main who's #1 in the world. What do you think about ZAIN?
I think ZAIN he is on path to become a very dominant number one, but I think weirdly enough, if you look at the just head-to-heads, how they're trending, how they've held up throughout the whole year, I am not convinced yet that he is a favorite over the field. I think the field is very good, and I think Zain's matchups within that given field and the likelihood of running into those matchups at any given tournament gives him a better shot at winning a major than every other individual. But I don't think it's that he just completely obliterates every single person that he runs into no matter what. I think he has shown glimpses of that at 4 of the last 5 tournaments. I think if this continues I think if it continues for another tournament, then you know what? Maybe the eye test that the Crimson Blur says that he sees in friendlies and hears about, maybe that becomes reality. But I do want to be clear that we've seen stretches of people like Armada winning 6 tournaments in a row or 7 tournaments or whatever. We've seen stretches where Hungrybox has won like 8 out of 10. ZAIN, at this point, I think he's halfway there. But I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt of being this unstoppable brick wall that cannot be dethroned. However, if he wins Shine, I think it's pretty much a loss.
I think this is a somewhat different conversation in a week if Zain just like wins through winners.
True.
But it really I think so. Kind of with like the kind of dominance of Armada, for instance, or even HBox during that time. I think that the field is significantly better. Kinda.
Yeah.
Because like during like the Five Gods era, the Five Gods era was like really like a year or something. Then it became like
crazy.
Like just in the sense of like yes, any of the gods could win, but any of the gods weren't winning. Any of the gods weren't winning. It was Armada and HBox.
Armada, HBox,
and Mango
early on.
Yeah. Exactly. And so it's like there were 5 people that could compete. It wasn't like and they were clearly better than everyone else, but now it's like you really have like Zain, Jmook, Cody as like these they're kind of I think like the big 3 that can like beat each other. It feels much like I would be so surprised of Zain losing to anyone else. Other than Leffen's Cheek, I suppose, as well. But it just it's but that's
also I would say
Amsa would not be too crazy. Yeah. And so but because of that, it's like, oh, we already just listed way more people than like 3 people. That's like 5 people. And that's only with regards to Zain. We're not even talking about like who can beat Cody, who can beat Jmook. And I think because of that, it's just like the chance for dominance is gonna be more RNG based rather than like a clear skill gap.
Yeah,
and in Zayn's case, I think his RNG, what you're referencing in his what you describe as RNG base, I think that it kind of the neatly parallels, if not just like matches what I'm saying about matchup availability. Like he has high value, it matters a lot to be able to be so consistent against the Hungry Boxes of the world or the Mangoes.
Yeah.
It matters a lot to be 4-2, 4-3 or in the 4-3 in the season on Cody. And it matters a lot that your bads, like if we look at his worst head-to-heads, which are Leffen, Amsa, and Jmook, one way to overcome them is winning a tournament over 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
Another way is still having a set over the guy that happened to beat you for a tournament too, right? It's not as if I don't think every set he plays against Leffen he's just gonna lose forever. I think that is a close rivalry that maybe at worst you could say is slightly favored in Leffen's favor, or who knows? Again, it's I would personally treat it like a coin flip, maybe slight Leffen right now, but we don't know how that could.
Yeah, and the chance of that match happening is just lower. Like Zain is just so it's unlikely for Zain to get upset. Zain is making it to winners semis at every event, right?
Yeah.
He's never not going to be in winners semis. But his competition might have the occasional has to be
Cody
in
might
losers
drop a
top
set to
8.
Kadoran.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of why Zain is That's why I'm saying. Well, it's still very reasonable that Zayn like could not end the year rank 1. Right now, he's so clearly like he's very clearly a bit better than everyone else.
Yes, it's clear, but it's not dominant yet. But
Exactly.
It is clear, and it could get to dominant if he not only like if he wins Shine. I think like it will be trending even further toward dominant. I think he could win Shine. Cody could win Riptide and Big House and whatever else comes up. But I think just by like it would still be clear because Zayn would be up 5-2 with about like three or 5 events left in the year. Like I think it would be almost a lock if not an outright lock, just the way things are trending.
You know, the interesting thing about Zayn is that and I got into it on the Gommel preview episode with Webbs, is that like when you look at him, he's not a player who I think has extremely dominant matchups, right? Like, I mean, you can mention the 5 gods there, and I think that one of the big differences as to why the field is more difficult is that Armada never had to face someone really difficult before winter semis. You know, and you look at winners quarters matches right now, like just look at the top 10. You've got Zayn, Cody, Jmook, Leffen, Moki. Like, obviously, these are all like super good players, and then right underneath the 5, you still have Mango, Amsa, HBox, Plup. Kodoran is obviously someone who I think that needs to prove to be able to win a major to the same level of those players, but is still very good, can beat all those players. And then you have Wizzy, who hasn't even, you know, didn't play enough to get ranked. Like, that is, I would say 10 people could win a major. I think have like a decent, like, realistic shot at winning a major. And it wasn't like that before. But the thing with Zayn is that, like, it's not like I go through and I say he beats everyone solidly. He's got, like, a 50-50 matchup with Cody, maybe slight in his favor. He's probably, you know, Leffen and Jmook are, like, tough, but not impossible. He's really good versus HBox, but could also just get wand on, right? Like, that's a possibility. He's really good versus Mango, but Mango can do the same thing. Amsa is someone who I think he's probably going to win their next set, but he kind of got destroyed this year earlier by Amsa. He could definitely lose again. Plup is definitely a question mark. I think Plup can beat Zayn. There's no reason to say no. Yeah. And Wizzy, yeah, why not? Wizzy could beat Zayn. Like, all these, like, I list all these off, and it's reasonable to say, damn, that sounds really difficult for Zayn. But the thing is, all these are kind of coin flips, right? Like, some are easier than others, some are more difficult than others. I didn't even mention Moki. I feel bad. I do think that Moki's very good, could take a set. I do think that's probably a matchup that Zayn doesn't really have to worry about in the time being. But, like, all these matchups sound super difficult. Because you look at, like, Cody, right? Cody's got difficult ones, but he's got, like, a matchup like Amsa, which I don't want to call anything free in the top 10, but you look at a matchup like that, I'm not sure if Zayn has that. I'm not sure if Zayn has a matchup where I can confidently go, Zayn will be up 10-0 on that player by the end of the year.
I think
the same way I can do.
HBox is the closest.
I think we had,
but
even then it's HBox. I'm not gonna say anyone's gonna 10-0 HBox. So
Zayn does it.
I think he's got a lot of coin flip matchups and just is always, you know, flipping heads. Like he is, and it's not something that I want to say is luck, because he can get into scenarios where they don't go in his favor. Look at the beginning of the year, we're pretty confident he wasn't number 1 at the beginning of the year until he won tipped off. But when they're going in his favor, it looks unstoppable. So my answer to the question, can someone dethrone Zayn? Yes, of course, someone can. Will someone is a bit of a tougher question because, you know, the streak he's on right now, it's going to take a little bit before I would say it's like one of the best of all time, but it's in the conversation, which is an insane thing to say already. And he has just looked so good versus all these coin flip matchups that I see no reason that it could stop anytime soon.
Yeah. It's
the
much
one thing I'll
closer
say.
than you would say. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It feels like a tightrope walk if it weren't Zayn. For some reason, it just feels like I look at all these things, I can see his bracket, it might not even look good, and yet part of me goes, nah, he's winning this. He's beating Jmook, he's beating Leffen, he's beating Amsa, he's beating, like. I feel so confident in him. That being said, I do want to kind of bring up something about, you know, his possibility of getting not ranked number 1, is that there aren't a lot of major tournaments left, and it's kind of a little sad to think about. Like, you don't want to be in August and go, oh, it's already locked up, but we have Shine, we've got Riptide, we've got Big House,
and we've got Santa Paws.
And we've got Santa Paws, sure, sure, man. Have fun in Alabama. No, but like we don't have a lot of stuff out there that is kind of these big marquee majors, and I guess like I think the thing that's really interesting about 2023 as a year is that it's kind of paralleling the beginning of the year, right? It's a bit of a mirror image. So we start off and we have Genesis, of course. That's always going to be like our huge anchor event. That is going to be the thing that kind of rights the ship, no matter what's happening, right? No matter how many circuits fall apart, you've got Genesis to make you feel like it's all better again. And then we have a bit of a lull, and at that point, we had a lot of episodes talking about how it's very important to support these tournaments, to make sure that these up and coming TOs have the ability to run a major, and it's, like majors aren't just run by the people who keep running them. And we saw that, right? Major Upset was a big major, it got capped. Collision was a big major, it got capped. Like we Tipped Off was a big major in terms of just like people who went. These are all events that are run by pretty young staff in terms of like how long they've been running events, and events that, like, aside from Tipped Off, don't have a history in Melee. Like, they have a history in Ultimate, but not a history in Melee. And I think that as we look at the end of the year, we are lucky enough to have Gommel, and a couple weeks later, SmashCon, and a couple weeks later, Shine, and a couple weeks later, Riptide, and then, it's going to be like a month, and then we'll have Big House. But I think that, like, we have to kind of be in the mindset that we were earlier in the year, right?
Admittedly, that stretch is a pretty crazy stretch of tournaments. It's just that
an insane stretch.
It's just that it ends, and there's still 4 months in the year.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It ends. There's at the end of October, and then we go, what now? And I think that I just want to make sure that that we don't get too caught up in the moment, right? And we have to make sure that the energy that we brought in the beginning of the year, we bring at the end too, because we've got tournaments that are around and definitely able to host us, and then it's just like, are we willing to? Do we want tournaments in November? Do we want tournaments in December? If so, there are ones out there. There's Santa Paws. There's DreamHack Atlanta. I saw LTC tweet something. Arca Melee. There's all these things. Yeah, so I do think that the question of can ZAIN be number one is a very fun one that unfortunately gets a little sadder if you actually think about the logistics of it. And it's like, as it stands right now, probably hard to catch up to him in terms of majors, especially if he wins one of them. But hopefully, as we kind of go further, that is not as sad, because I would love to see DreamHack Atlanta be like a huge event to end the season. I'd love to see Santa Paws be like a big event to draw people out to a region that does not have Melee majors. I'd love to see like an LTC come back if the tweet is actually insinuating that. Yeah, there's all these things that I think we would love to see. But anyway, we're talking about majors that might be majors. We have a major that we know definitively is a major, and that is Shine. Shine is coming up. Shine, of course, Boston's major formerly, now in Worcester, is the New England major. And we talked a lot about it once it was announced, but this is the last installment. This is obviously, I think, like a sentimental moment for a lot of people in New England Melee. I know that Melee Stats has had a special place, or Shine has had a special place in a lot of the member Melee Stats' heart. This is one of my first majors that I ever went to. Obviously, Edwin, you are from New England. This is a big major for you. Like, a lot of cool stuff has happened here. So we are kind of probably gonna get into emotional territory. Maybe not on the episode, but maybe at the event itself. But even if we divorce the emotional aspect from the from what the tournament is, this is a really stacked tournament, right? We're lucky to have all these stacked tournaments in a row, and this is pretty much a other than HBox not showing up, other than Leffen still looking at his Evo trophy and shining it and being too busy to play Melee. We have a really great tournament here. So this is going to be kind of a put up or shut up tournament for a lot of the big ones, right? Like, we talked about it. If ZAIN wins this, it feels like the conversation is over. It feels like the book has closed. Whether or not you care about number one at the end of the year, feels like that's kind of over, but it also kind of feels like the question of who's the most dominant is completely over. And here to kind of have a say in this is Cody again, and J-Mook is here, who's been on a little break after his last tournament. We've got a little bit of a fun bracket here, but before we get into all of that, one of the things that has always been really cool about Shine is the depth of talent. New England is a region that I feel like they always show up every time they're there. So we've got about 680 or so entrants here. for Melee, and we got a lot of hitters. We got a lot of people who might fly under the radar. Edwin, you are a player from this region. Now with a notable win over a Swedish power rank player. Does anything kind of stick out to you in terms of people who can make big runs here? Because I think this is, like we're kind of in the thick of it, right? With all these majors that like we saw what happened at SmashCon. We know there's a lot of upsets that can happen. There's a lot of crazy runs. Do you have any that kind of pop out to you?
Yeah, well, first off, I do want to just talk about the general concept of a very big underdog run and people with a lot to prove here, because I think the irony with Shine is that because it's the ultimate players major with so many setups and best of 5 throughout the tournament.
The Europeans are going to get so mad at us.
Yeah, I think it's actually yeah, they will. I'm gonna get a bunch of angry DMs for this, but
what do you mean, ultimate players? You didn't actually have that many setups. I went. I don't know who's. That's Abe.
Yeah, it's like a mix of Abe, King, basically everyone. Is it true that in NA you only have one major per 8 players? Like, God, the amount of times I had to talk about it.
You all huddle around one setup, and you all play the tournament on just one setup, and it takes so long. Is that what you do?
Is it true that you Americans only play on winner stays? That's so horrible. Rotation is just better for everyone. Honestly,
socialism brain.
Honestly, they kind of got our asses there. But anyway,
I don't know if they do.
The Europeans are so right about basically all of this, but we can't let them have it.
No.
The point. Okay, so sorry. The point is, I think the irony of this.
I don't know if you want to get into making fun of Europeans more. I'm down to like cut out this entire Shine segment. We don't talk about it again.
Yeah, we could dedicate a whole episode to this. Get Sharp on. So
actually, yeah, there's probably going to be a week in the future that there's nothing much going on, so we might need to save it. Good idea. Go back into Shine.
Yeah, so I think that the irony of the underdog run happening at Shine or anything like that is that I think in the case of Shine it would be especially earned because best of 5 is there. It's actually really difficult.
Is the whole tournament best of 5?
Well, it's round 2 onwards.
Yeah.
So I think it's really difficult to make this kind of underdog run that we're talking about. Now, with that said, I think there are a lot of players that are just outside the range of of the summer rank top 50 players that we can expect to see in that 70s, 80s, 60s range maybe by the end of the year that all have potential for really big runs here. I'm just going to name a few people off the top of my head that I think could make a massive run at this tournament and sort of like really cement their spot on the top 100 by the end of the year, if not try to sneak their way into the top 50. So you got Palpa here, you got Lunar Dusk. Lunar Dusk is obviously someone that made the top 50 last year, and just
save Lunar Dusk for me. I want to get into that one. Save that one for me. Keep going on though.
Yeah, we got Sir Maris here. That guy's hella cracked. We got Ja Raiden, who I just saw in front of my very own eyes defeat Pipsqueak twice on a tournament. We got Squid here. I think Squid's had a very secretly strong year. We got Preeminent, who was on the top 50 ballot, but didn't end up making the list, but still had a pretty strong first
very strong
year.
Player.
You got Grab coming here. This is someone that made top 12 at Shine last year and had one of the very big sleeper runs to a Sunday of a tournament ever. You have Quang here, the Sunsei Slayer from Gommel, who's had a stretch.
Quang beat Sunsei at Gommel?
Yeah. He's had quite an up and down stretch of major performances this year, but this is certainly the.
Wait, is Joji here? Is Milkman here?
Yeah, we got to make sure Joji.
Dude, Quang lost to Joji at 3 majors this year. That's insane.
That's hype.
It's not hype.
The point is, I think this event will be really big for people in that. And I think what we would consider the 70s to 100 or like edge of the ballot range right now to either make their way into the top 50 or just cement their spot on the list with a really strong showing here.
Mm-hmm. Zamu, am I allowed to go off on Lunar Dusk, or do you want to pop in first?
Nope. Go ahead.
Lunar Dusk, obviously a player at Melee Stats, sponsored last year to get to events and ended up on the top 50. I think that Lunar Dusk has proven time and time again to be very good. It's been a bit of a quiet year. He did go to Collision, and he he kind of got a little rocked by Captain Smuckers, and it's one of those things where you kind of go, I don't know what that means, and in order to like figure out what that means, I'd have to think about it to a level that I don't want to.
That's why I love that I am no longer a stats carer.
Yeah, well, here's
I've
the thing
only-
is, you can just do that. You can just say, I'm sure Captain Smuckers, an unranked player, is maybe not the best loss you can have, but then you just go, hey, he's pretty good. It's fine. I don't need to think about it.
Lost to Chef Rock twice.
True, true.
Top 25, by the way.
Yeah, dude, I told him I told him to go more, and he refuses. But alas,
Is Lunar Dusk winning Shine?
maybe. So he's got Calvar, who's very good versus Icy. Has taken Slug pretty. I think it was last. Shine took
like,
Slug
down to the
really
wire,
close.
Shine.
Which is good because Slug winning that meant that Slug got to play Axe, and I got to be like, I think Axe is gonna win, guys, which he did. So it's actually good for my ego that Slug won that one. But I think Lunar, this is obviously a tough matchup in winners quarters of the pool, but I think he can do it. That's round 1 of round 2. That was a very weird way of saying that. But I think he can do that. He's got Magi afterwards, a player that he beat last Shine, so it's becoming a bit of a canon event. And I think this is where it gets really, really difficult, but we get into AMSA, and if we do take cross-country online into account, he had a extremely, extremely close set with him at Coinbox this week that he kind of was up in a lot of the games and ended up losing game 5, really, really close. But he was putting in a ton of work. One of the most insane things about the set was that, like, Lunar didn't have Nana for a lot of it, which is insane to say about a Game 5 last hit stock. He was kind of schmoovin' with Sopo in a way that I didn't think you could do versus Yoshi. I was just like, don't know what the Sopo-Yoshi matchup looks like. I bet it's good for Yoshi. But yeah, he was really working it. So he did that. Let's pretend like he wins that. Why not? Amsa's like mad about Foxes or something. He's mad about the rankings. Lunar wins it. He has J-Mook or Axe. And I'm not about, like, Axe just beat Slug last year, right? I'm not about to say that this matchup's super free. Those are good matchups when you could be playing, like, ZAIN or Aklo, who are in the same, that's like a different matchup in the same thing. And that would be winner's side, top 12. Now, do I think he gets there? Do I think he ends up playing ZAIN and winner semis of the entire tournament? I don't know. I might not put a lot of money on it, but I do think that if you were to craft a run for Lunar Dusk to make winner semis of a major, like if that was your goal, I do not think you could do a better job than this right here.
Are there
Because
any
it
like
is
nice upsets
pretty
that
insane.
can happen? Like is there someone that beats Aklo or whatever that like really make this even nicer?
Let's say ZAIN loses to Aklo's Link, and then he plays Aklo in winner semis.
Well, yeah. Okay, I misunderstood. I thought that he played Aklo.
Sorry,
in this
now
round.
Aklo and ZAIN would play the same time that he would play J-Mook or Axe, which I think it's like a really great draw. compared
Those
to
are
who it
wonderful
could be.
draws. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting by AMSA. That's the problem.
And then plays Moki, then plays Cody. That's winners finals. Am I saying Lunar Dust is going to win the tournament? Fuck, am I? I don't think I am. But
You're
am
saying
I?
that more than I thought you were, at the very least.
Yeah, I think if we had Dark Genix on, he would say so. Edwin, prove me wrong. Tell me why Lunar Dust is not going to win this tournament.
I mean, AMSA being in his path. You mentioned that it was cross-continental net play.
What if I go up to AMSA
and he
right
still
before
lost.
and I say I make fun of him for being number 7 in the world?
Take his
What if I go up to
headphones
him and
out.
I like pull one of the headphones out and I go, "Hey buddy, just want to let you know you were ranked 6. We just don't like you, so I ranked you 7th." I actually went against what the balloter said.
You know,
It is
I
actually crazy
don't-
how that might like that
I-
sort
I
of
don't
thing
know
could
how he'd
totally
react.
affect it. Like
But I feel like it could only really work or it could really fail. Like he just goes on to 3-0 everybody and wins. I don't have a read on how AMSA would react in that situation.
it's a win-win. So either Lunar Dust successfully wins and you did your part, or you've like ignited some flame within AMSA and then he wins a major.
True. How about this? Wait, how about this? I got a good one. So he's wearing wireless earphones, right? I think this is our in. I do not think that wireless technology extremely safe in a lot of senses. I think we can get in. And I'm not a hacker, so I don't know how to do it. But here's what I think we do. Amsa, we find like who's he a big fan of, right? Like we get like a celebrity. Edwin, you got a celebrity to come in. And Amsa sees him, and Amsa's like, oh, I need a picture with Matt Damon or Ben Affleck or whatever. Like, we'll get a Boston one. Because I think that you have the pull to get Ben Affleck. So Ben Affleck comes in, and it's like, Amsa's like, I need to take a picture with Ben Affleck. And then you're right there, and you go, oh, I'll take the picture for you. Give me your phone. You turn on Bluetooth. He doesn't know it. Wait, no. I turn on Bluetooth? I don't know how this works. You have his headphones? I've lost the plot here. Whatever. I have Bluetooth into his headphones. And game 5, I start just playing super loud fucking noises. Whatever, like, I play H-Box Pop-Off 12 hours straight. The second that, like, Nana's off stage, he just needs to, like, down tilt. I start playing it, he goes crazy. Lunar Dust grabs. I think we got it, man. Oh, just delete this VOD. That's all we need to do.
You know, I did on the topic of breakout players, different things that we could manufacture into reality through, Bluetooth headsets and hacking into the players' phones or whatever. I think we would need something like that for, and I mean this with all love in my heart. I was trying to think of for my column this week. I tried to think of 5 prop bets or like hypothetical prop bets for the tournament. Starting, like at the bottom were the more normal ones, like, oh, how possible is it that Amsa will defeat Moki or Cody in their next set? Or, like, is it possible, like, is ZAIN favored versus the field? And 2 very interesting but incredibly unlikely ones that I thought of were a New England player making top 8 at Shine, which has never happened in the Melee bracket ever. And the second one I thought of is what would happen, like, what would need to happen for there to be no Foxes in top 8? And I think what you just mentioned is what we need to do to ensure that happens. I think we need to do what you just said, but for all the Fox players that are projected for, like, top 32.
No, dude, you're thinking of it the wrong way. It's not the Fox player. You take the New Englander, and it's going to be you. We're going to get your ass 7th place.
No. I don't think there's any amount that could. I saw my bracket. It's tough.
I got a lot. We hack into a lot of Bluetooth phones, man. We get What we need to do is we need to go to EVO and hang out at the Black Hat convention. That's always at EVO for some reason. We need to befriend one of them and learn the tricks of the trade. Just hack into everyone's phone and, I don't know, send them, like, really loud alerts. That's the second you grab them on FD. Yeah, no, I mean, New England having a person in top 8 would be incredibly great, and it just really seems like it's not really fated to happen.
Who's
Is there
the best
anyone...
player in New England?
That's probably Calvar, right? Calvar, Doc
Calvar
Lob,
is
if
the
he's
highest
still...
ranked player in New England, but it may be Ricky
hit
or
me.
Yami.
Which is not Q. That's a different person.
No, Q's
okay.
different.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I got excited because for some reason those people exist in my head, and I love Ricky. I don't know Q, so I was gonna throw to Ricky, but don't have to play him unfortunately.
Damn. Yeah, Ricky Yami, amazing player. Kind of one of those, like, I mean, we talked about Chef Rock, kind of one of those Chef Rock-esque things where it's like, dude, if this person played, they'd be top 100 easily. And I know we say that about a lot of people, and even we might have had an episode where I know we say this about a lot of people, but Ricky is one of those players who I feel very confident in. Has already had, 2 wins over Mech this year?
He double eliminated Mech, beat Calvar, and beat Younger at GamerCon.
Sick. Thank you.
Pretty good, if
Ricky.
you ask me.
I did think, like, if he was in my bracket, I was like, damn, I'm a really bad draw. But not a problem.
Alas. Yeah, we will. I think we will see some sort of run from him if he decides to enter, decides to try hard. That's one of the bigger issues with that is that, like, is he going to be as locked in as he would be? He's not a player who attends a lot of majors. Who knows? I think that if we see the fully unlocked potential of him, no doubt will he make some upsets and make a run there. Is there anyone else that we want to mention, or should we just get into the top dogs here? Zamu, is there anyone that you kind of picked out, or?
I did not have any kind of interesting thoughts about this.
Just say, like, Palpa.
No.
Just say Palpa, man. Bro, just say Palpa. Dude, just say
upset
Palpa.
with Palpa and Etost as a grouping.
As a collective.
Yes.
Yeah, we decided that if Palpa doesn't make top 16, we can just say he's really bad and he's washed. He's not seeded top 16. He's not even seeded top 32. But if he doesn't make top 16, I think like he's definitively bad. So that is something you can look out for there. Anyone watching from home. So look out for that. If Palpa doesn't make top 16, I think we all get to harass him, do some online bullying. Who doesn't love that? But yeah, let's get into the big dogs here, because this is a tournament, as I mentioned before, it's got a lot of the big names. Is missing H-Box, which is makes it kind of like a bit of an interesting dynamic, right? We don't have a lot of H-Box list majors, so when we do, it's always kind of interesting to know like how that treats things. So we've got Cody, Kadoran, we've got Moki, Mango again, we've got stuff like that. We've got a lot of really insane stuff here. I know I already mentioned ZAIN versus Aklo. Obviously, if Lunar Dusk for some reason doesn't make it to winners quarters, it'd be Jmook Amsa. Like, these are all pretty cool matchups, and matchups that we've seen somewhat recently, but I don't think any of them are really, really like 100% definitive. Maybe like you could say ZAIN Aklo, but a lot of these are pretty toss-up matchups. So going into the final bracket, there's a lot of things that could change here, right? The winner semis that we see, seeded, ZAIN, Jmook, Cody, Moki, that could be completely different, right? That could be Kadorian Mango. That could be like ZAIN versus Amsa. That could be Lunar Dusk versus whoever.
Lunar Dusk is doing bad if he's not winning the tournament.
True.
He has to lose to Palpa.
Just like how if Palpa doesn't make top 16, Palpa's bad at the game and should be banned for the top 100. If Lunar Dusk doesn't win, I think we just ban him from the scene. I think he's too bad. But I guess let's talk about the situation where Lunar Dusk doesn't win. I know we all believe he's going to win the tournament. Edwin. You and your little articles, I know that you've already revealed who you think is going to win, but give me your thoughts. Shine 2023, one of the last majors of the summer. Who takes it home?
Yeah, so looking at this, I mentioned before in my column and even on this episode that I think ZAIN is a very clear, like very convincing number one. I'm not totally sold on him being long-term dominant over the field, but I think, just maybe this is a cheap way out. I think there's something to be said about me not picking him for the whole year to win majors and him going on to win 4 of the last 5. And I think given the field of competitors here and the way that, matchups are turning out, like who he'll have to play, I think that a lot of his matchups are just very good. I think Jmook and Amsa is pretty difficult, but I think he's very steady. I don't think that he's likely for a early loss on the caliber of like Morse Code or Skurzo, and I think that strength can get you very far in a bracket. The thing I would say that's going against ZAIN about this tournament is, funnily enough, what you mentioned about Hungrybox not being here. I think if Hungrybox is at a tournament where Jmook or Amsa are there, Jmook to an especially large degree, Amsa to less of a degree, but just to a certain degree, I think having a Hungrybox in an event helps ZAIN because it not only gives him an opponent in the top echelon whom he reliably beats, but that same opponent has shown the ability multiple times to get rid of the kinds of opponents that typically spoil ZAIN's bracket runs. So with that in mind, we have a field where we're pretty confident that ZAIN will be in winner side of top 12 at some point. If everything turns out the way that we've seen it turn out for the last, 12 months? Like pretty much since last SmashCon, which we don't think, or since 2022 SmashCon, which we know that best of 3 is not going to be a problem here, assuming he makes it by round 1. And I think that just given that, and given his matchups against most of the people remaining of whom he could possibly run into in top 12, just where he's trending, where he is in his career, and frankly where some of even his problem matchups are trending. Like I don't think Amsa is trending particularly high. I don't think Jmook is trending particularly high. I think if there's a time for ZAIN to start evening those head-to-heads and overcoming some of his former demons, it would be at a tournament like this. And that's led me to believe that he would be the best pick to win this event. Even if I still don't think that he's that far and ahead away from everyone. I think he's solidly ahead of everyone enough to where I'm willing to pick him.
Zamu, what do you think?
Well, I came to Edwin Budding's exact same conclusion with way less work.
Impressive.
Just kidding, actually. I don't know. I think it would be cool to see a Jmook win, because we haven't seen him in a bit. I also think that this seems pretty good for Cody, because, Jmook versus Axe, like, Jmook probably wins, but it's, like, surprisingly doable feeling.
Not a walk in the park.
Yeah. For, like, when we think about, like, perception of, like, Axe's skill currently compared to Jmook's skill, it's like that is a surprisingly hard match there. And then the winner of that is probably playing Amsa, and it's like, okay, so Jmook also could definitely lose there, or ZAIN could lose to either of them. And so ZAIN actually has his hard matches where it's like a bit of a coin flip, but he does keep correctly flipping the coin to where it's like maybe it is kind of like a 60-40 coin flip, and he keeps winning. He's due for a 40% loss. And that's how gambler fallacy works. But so Cody has just like a easier path there, I think. Like, if Cody's losing to Kadoran, he's just like obviously not winning the tournament. Like, he doesn't deserve to even be, like, he doesn't deserve it. So
He doesn't deserve to live, I'll say it.
yeah, I'll say it.
We're all thinking it.
Yeah, well,
Let's not go too far.
right to healthcare, no right to life.
True.
But
we gotta get him to Canada.
Yeah. So because like Cody's projected winner semis match is Moki, whereas Zayn's is Jmook. Just looking at those, Moki has done well versus Cody. He's beaten him plenty of times. I don't know, like it's possible he's won more of the most recent times. I don't know, but it's still that feels way easier for Cody than Jmook is for Zayn. And so I'm down to and it would be more interesting because we don't just stop the conversation for rank 1 after this tournament, which I think it's also like kind of unfortunate, but then you have to, like, there has to be new interesting storylines such as like regional things.
Tefo, yes.
Storylines.
Storylines, yes, Tefo. So Zamu, your final choice is
Cody Schwab.
Cody Schwab is going to win the tournament.
Or Mango, because that one would be also cool. And there's no H-Box, so there's a lower chance of
Actually,
dot.
there's no H-Box. You're right, God.
Like, it's
No.
not...
That's true.
So,
Dude,
okay,
I'm not talking. I'm not going to act like this is a possibility. I don't want to believe it. I'm mad at him.
If Mango plays all Spacies, then he's my pick. Not because I think he'll win by going all Spacies, but because I'm down for it. If he doesn't, then Cody Schwab.
Yeah, I think there's a really interesting section of the bracket that kind of will determine. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's a dumb thing to say. Of course, a section of the bracket will determine the winner. Yes. Of course. But like, yeah, you're right. ZAIN versus Jmook or ZAIN versus Amsa. That is kind of like a really important pivot point for basically the other winner semis one, right? Because if you're Cody, or if you're Moki, if you're Mango, you know, people who are able to make it through that to winners finals, seeing ZAIN in winners finals is very scary in a way that Amsa or even kind of Jmook isn't really. Like, right, Jmook is obviously still super good versus these players. Still someone who I would favor over Moki, over Mango. Still someone who I think could definitely beat Cody, even if I don't think he's favored. But, like, the ability for Amsa to make a run here opens up this to a host of other people, right? If it's Cody versus Amsa in winners finals, seems like it's a pretty good chance for a Cody dub. If it's Mango versus Amsa, that's fucking battles right there. We'll see if Mango does it again. We'll see if Amsa does it again. But I'm going to speak into existence something that I want to see. Muscle mindset mentality, of course. Muscle mindset activated. What is it again? It's my mantra. I've decided... Zamu, you're a God is good guy. You might understand this. I started manifesting without realizing that it's manifestation. You basically you type in muscle emoji, then you say muscle mindset activated, and you type another muscle emoji to bookend it.
Fire.
It works, dude. It's and actually
Muscle mindset activated.
So I tweeted this in response to Leffen. Leffen showed the clip of him, or like the screenshot of him down 0-2, down 1-2 in rounds with like a sliver of health versus Peppery Splash at Evo, in like round of top 24 or something like that. He posted that. I responded. Muscle mindset activated. He liked the tweet. Guess what? He went 12-1 in games to win the tournament decisively. So do you not believe in muscle mindset activated? I understand if you don't, but I think that there is scientific proof to believe that muscle mindset will bring you to stuff like winning Evo. So kind of muscle mindset mentality. I want to bring up like
Am's alright. I think he's a pretty good example.
I think Ops is a great one here, but I want to bring up like I think that J-Mook winning a tournament would be so good for J-Mook because I think a lot of people are counting him out more than I think they deserve to, or more than they should rather. Cody, kind of same thing. I think Cody is being counted out maybe a little more than I think is necessary, considering he's looked incredibly good. It's just losing to H-Box, I guess, does that to person, right? We all go, no, he's bad. But
which is crazy. It's H-Box.
Yeah, it's H-Box. He will win. We know that. But I'm going to say, I kind of saved this for the Gommel one, but I didn't want to overuse this prediction. Let's just fucking say Moki's going to win. This is like... ZAIN is always going to be scary. ZAIN is always going to be a threat for any top player here, and ZAIN could very well just win the tournament. In fact, if you want to make a bet and you had to place money on any player, I think ZAIN's probably a smart one to do. The ability for ZAIN to miss out on winners finals is better than it was past few tournaments, and because of that, I have to wonder, if Omps is in winners finals, Moki beats Cody again. Moki's in winners finals. Moki's in winner's side grands.
I don't think Moki. I think J-Mook and ZAIN are maybe Moki's two hardest people. Maybe I'm
agree.
Crazy.
And yet,
but also
the muscle
there's a chance
mindset
that
is
neither of
activating.
them- Yeah.
And yet, I mean, I think if you were to say who's more likely, ZAIN obviously is incredibly likely. Cody, if in the chance that he plays Omps in winners finals, that's very good for him. Even if he has ZAIN or even if he has J-Mook, of course, is very good. But sometimes we need to manifest things here. And I'm gonna pick Moki on this one. Moki always the question for him is when and not if at this point. So I think there's no better time than right now, right? You talked about it'd be kind of boring if ZAIN won. We need some more storylines. What's a better storyline than Moki bringing home the gold here? Shine 2018, 5 years ago, was ZAIN's first major. Kind of opened
5
up.
years ago, half a
You're
decade has
You're
gone
old.
by. Dude,
kind
ZAIN
of
feels like
opened
the
up-
new guy still. Am I crazy?
Dude, actually, wait. Can I point out something here? Episode's going to be a little long. We're almost done, I swear. But this is not a tangent. ZAIN, currently, #1 ranked player. He is the oldest player to be ranked #1.
At time of ranking?
At the time of ranking.
I wonder if that number is only gonna go like higher, if we're just gonna randomly have like a 21-year-old #1.
How old
player
was
again.
he?
So ZAIN is 27.
Damn, I have time.
H-Box, when he was last ranked #1, was 26. Which is insane. The oldest person to be ranked #1 at time of ranking is ZAIN? He's young. He's the new guy, right? That's so insane. And yet here we are. So, 5 years ago, he kind of opened the door as to what we consider major winners and who can win a major, and he's been continuing to do so. And since then, we've seen many, many people win majors. And I think in Shine's final year, nothing more poetic would be to show someone else doing that. Another young buck who is coming onto the scene and showing that what we think of as major winners, we should kind of reevaluate. So I'm going to say Moki here. Do I truly believe? I don't know. But the muscle mindset has been activated, and it's up for him to continue on.
And it alliterates with Moki.
True.
That was
The
like
Moist
most
Moguls,
hype.
Moki, muscle mindset.
It would also be a nice continuation of his one of his like really big showings came in Shine 2019 when he beat Leffen and he had that big run to top 8. So it'd be a nice.
All right, Moki, let's do it. I
think
decided
Moki's
it's cool
a great
if you
one to
win.
just keep on predicting for sure.
Moki, if you don't win, I'm not pissed. a little miffed. I'll be a little miffed. So Moki, I think you should win this one.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think he'll go in the Palpa bucket and the Cody Schwab bucket. He can hang out with those two.
Lunar, if
Whatever.
Lunar doesn't win.
Yeah.
Lunar Moki battles for grand finals. Yes, I'm very excited to see what happens here. And, of course, I highly recommend that you watch this tournament because I think whatever happens is going to be extremely interesting. And that's not just because H-Box isn't here. But it probably doesn't hurt. Anyway.
It might hurt. Smash got... It was interesting watching him at
Smash got... True.
On
true.
average, it won't hurt. But...
H-Box is an interesting beast right now, is he not?
He is.
I hope he enjoys his trip in, where's he going? Like the Mediterranean or something?
Mediterranean
I'm not
islands, I
doxing
think.
him, dude.
Coordinates, minus 38.
Dude, no, he's like Rainbolt trained, isn't he? Rainbolt and him did a video for Team Liquid. He's like giving out fake information, I bet. He says he's in the Mediterranean. He's like secretly in a bunker somewhere.
He's just still in Florida.
He's still in Florida. Dude, I don't even know if he lives in Florida. That's like, right? Can you say with confidence he lives in Florida?
Yes, because one time there was a tiny lull in his Twitch chat, tiniest lull, and immediately without missing a beat, he's like, "So chat, where are y'all from? I'm in Orlando, Florida." And it just like starts talking to him like that. And I was like, "Wow, he is the content god."
No, dude, that sounds like something you would say if you're trying to not reveal your actual location.
Yeah, that's also reasonable.
Before we've got some things to do right after this, but before we go on, I just want to say one of the best tweets that he's ever made is talking about where Smash has brought him. He's like, Smash, I never thought Smash would bring me to all these places, and he listed all these crazy places, right? He went to like Brazil. This was like right after he went to Brazil for some reason. And he like mentioned all these places, and he mentioned in the middle was like Orlando, and I was like, that's not, dude, you were there. You grew up there. Smash didn't put you there. You were in Orlando. You can't say Orlando.
He played Smash in Orlando, but it didn't take him there.
I'm so
I think
happy
him
that
saying
Smash
Laurel,
brought me
Maryland was
10
hilarious.
minutes
But like,
from my house.
I'm really glad. Yeah, I'm really glad Smash. It was the reason I was born. Anyway, we've got a lot of questions about what's going to happen at the tournament, obviously, and we're going
Zamu's listening to Nick M. Witt.
We'll see.
I agree.
We got a lot of questions that need to be answered by the tournament, but until then, we've got some questions for you from our patrons. Now, as we talk about every single episode, we kind of go. We have got the little coquettish will they, won't they, where I say questions were shit, and then they put in good questions. I say questions were good, and they put in bad questions. This one, not on them. We kind of forgot to ask questions until really recently. So we've got some pretty good ones for the time being, I will say. I'll give you guys some credit. You guys were given a pretty short deadline, and you kind of gave some good ones. So I'm going to start off. We've got SSB_seal, of course, YouTube comment legend. And he says, this is lazy, but maybe top 5 current Midwest players? Ordered or not, the choice is his. You can tell that is maybe not the most professional answered question, so feel free to give whatever professional answer you want to match the cadence of that.
Zamu, number 1.
Ooh.
Love it.
And maybe legitimately, to some extent. I don't know.
Does Polish count? Does Lod
No,
count?
Polish does not count, or else it's easily Polish. But Polish is Pittsburgh is not the Midwest to anyone that's not in Ohio, and which is admittedly Ohio is a pretty big portion of the Midwest, but Pittsburgh is not the Midwest to most humans that I speak to, even outside of the Melee sphere. Pittsburgh is farther east than the Midwest, and it is not.
Is it East Coast?
It is East Coast, which is not even close. Coast is, it's called Coast for some reason, but it doesn't have to do with the coast.
It's like an 8-hour drive from the coast, is it not?
Yeah, it's an 8-hour drive from the Midwest too.
But the Midwest 8 hours is different.
Isn't it close to NEOH?
Yes, which is barely Midwest too. Sure. Okay, Polish by far #1 player in the Midwest. Then Zamu. Then Ginger. And really, it's like Ginger is better than me, but I will take this small moment when I can.
Yeah. Enjoy your moment.
And then
Flash.
Then Flash. I'm down.
Where's
And then
KJ?
Kalindi. Sure.
Morse code.
No. I don't know. There's
Hey,
a lot of really good Midwest players. I
308 J-Mook doesn't get you as far as it used to.
No, it doesn't. If you lose to me at Bot Me, nope.
True.
I mean, Morse code. I actually Morse code is probably 3. Or if we're going Zamu, Ginger, probably Morse code,
Kalindi Flash.
maybe Flash Kalindi. But yeah, and I think keeping Skurzo out of this conversation is cool.
Well,
I
it's
agree.
because Skurzo just like.
Okay,
I don't
but
even know
Skurzo
if
beat J-Mook and Morse code beat J-Mook, so why are we talking about Morse code?
True.
True.
But it's because it's
honestly,
so much
how
more
impressive
honest.
is J-Mook win these days? Skurzo has one.
Skurzo's
Can't
the
be that
goat.
impressive.
He beat me at a mid lane one time. Twice at
Adrian's
that
the
mid lane.
homie.
Never again. If he ever beats me again, I retire.
Where does Shabo and Friendlies fall on that list?
I don't think he's much better in friendlies than tournament. I don't know. I think Shabo's really good. I wish he cared.
Well, why don't we get into our second question? This one is from Algebra 123230, and this question is:
You gotta be quicker on that, man.
given your
1, 2,
fun
3,
to
2, 3,
play
0.
against tier list, which character or characters have the biggest difference between fun to play and fun to play against?
Can you repeat what is like the biggest gap?
Yeah, between fun to play and fun to play against.
Fun to play as versus fun to play against.
Yes.
For me, so I didn't present this as such because I thought maybe it'd be better for engagement. But this is like solely Fox matchups. I don't like fighting Mario very much, but I've been loving playing Mario.
Yeah, I know you
It's gonna be
have.
Mario.
I haven't been playing Mario much as of late. I've just been like, I'd rather play like any other character instead of fucking Mario. Why do I like that guy? But biggest gap. I mean, the biggest gap is probably, is it Ganondorf? I kind of want to die when I'm playing as that guy too, but the amount, like, it still might be Ganon. It still might be Ganon. I have
Just
no fun
because-
playing as that character.
But
I have even less fun playing
This
against
is
it.
like this is like a negative like 5 to like negative 5,000 difference.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's like it's a very sizable difference. It's probably, and I don't even hate fighting Mario that much these days. Like, and yeah, I don't know. Falcon, I will say Falcon is probably it might be Falcon. I really enjoy playing as Falcon, and these days, this is why I'm saying I'm losing to Nick M. Witt. I have no interest in trying to outplay him a single stock. It's just like, it's not gonna be fun, regardless of the outcome. I've already decided.
we'll hack into his box or something.
Yeah, and so it definitely could be Falcon is probably my reasonable, interesting answer because the rest of the characters are just like too boring anyways.
Where do you put Marth on that?
I like playing as Marth. I like playing against Marth.
Falco?
I like playing as and against. I like, so my favorite in this list, it was Fox and Falco are the most fun Fox matchups, then Marth, Sheik, Peach, and this is in that order. And it's really like any top tier, just like I think this conversation is more interesting with good characters, just because it's like, even though it's harder to answer kind of, but yeah, it's Martha's, all the good characters are fun. That's why Melee's cool.
True. But it's not all about Melee, right? We are multifaceted human beings with interests outside the game. So that is why we come up to our next segment, the unnamed segment, of course, known to fans affectionately as Touching Grass. Zamu, you know Touching Grass. You were here before. This is where you drop God is Good. I will give you some time to think about what your touching grass segment is. But I will go first to let you guys think. So it's been a little bit since we last got to speak to each other, and in that time, I've been listening to a lot of white people playing guitar music, especially, definitely an acoustic guitar. And this is a thing that is it a bit of my white guilt, possibly, but I've been getting very into I've listened to these bands for a long time, but I've been listening a lot recently to Big Thief and Wilco, who I will say are better than just white band, and yet they feel like they're so white band. Zamu, I see that you are animated.
I have a very interesting Wilco story.
Yes, give me your interesting Wilco story.
I've been in his house. Jeff Tweedy. Yeah, been in his house, seen the Grammys on the wall.
How?
Is it because of his son?
No, it's because my mom went to elementary school with his wife, I think.
Oh
wow.
And so that's my fun Wilco
Well,
story.
I'll say this, if you're ever in there again, tell him that I like his solo album. I think the solo album's good. I think that if you like Wilco, you should listen to the solo album. But, yeah, it's like when you tell an actor you like their indie movie or whatever. So, I've been listening to a lot of Big Thief. I've been listening to a lot of Wilco, yes. And I'm not going to use that as my touch of grass segment because there's something that I've done even more, and I swear these are not connected, even though Wilco appears in the soundtrack of this an obnoxious amount. I watched the entirety of The Bear in like a week. It's The Bear, FX's show about a restaurant in Chicago.
Did you like it?
I do like it. It's actually this weird thing. I took 2 years because I saw it when it came out and heard a lot about it. I was like, oh, I should watch this. Like the day it came out, I was like, I gotta watch this. And I didn't have Hulu, and I'm old, and technology has kind of progressed in a way where everything's pretty easy to watch for like a small price. So I actually don't pirate anything. Like, I think I might have when I was like 17 or whatever. But I ended up getting Hulu, and I decided to watch it. I think it's a very good show. I do think that it is kind of not really beating the Nice Core allegations, even though I don't know if it's Nice Core. It's got DNA of Nice Core. I think that you can make a compelling argument that Ted Lasso and The Bear are two very different shows that aren't as different as they might seem. But no, I had a very good time watching it. I would highly recommend it to anyone who wants to watch it. I do think the second season ended somewhat recently, so it might be a little bit of a wait, especially with the writer's strike and the SAG strike before we get another season. But I think it was a very good show. Yeah, acting amazing, very good writing, a lot of great character work. I was very excited to see whatever comes out of that. And until then, I also got access to HBO again. So I'm currently John Wilsoning, How To with John Wilson. So maybe that'll be my next Touch and Grass segment. I'll just do all TV shows. This is like fucking, we had Jackzilla on. He just said, is this segment just what media you've been into recently?
It's kind of funny for it to be like, yeah, my touching grass is I binged this whole show.
Yeah, I barely went outside. No, I mean, fine. My touching grass, I went on a lot. I've been walking around my neighborhood recently.
Awesome.
This fucking really nice bird sanctuary that is really hard to get to for some reason because there is a street that does not have a sidewalk on one side and not a sidewalk on the way to get into the bird sanctuary, and it also the way that it's at the bottom, the nadir of a valley, and you really can't see what cars are coming, so you kind of have to fucking hope that you don't get hit by a car to get into it. But it's really beautiful. I went after a big rainstorm, 2 days before. 2 days after a big rainstorm happened, so the creek had a lot of water running through it. It was very nice to be in there. Fucking, I touched grass, and you also
used the word nadir, which was very sick.
Thank you. Well, what about you, Zamu? Any nadirs for you?
No, I've not been touching much grass, but today I touched a lot of grass. And that was cool. I've been rock climbing as I do, even though I've been doing a really bad job just because I've been like dealing with personal things, so I hadn't really been climbing much. But I've started climbing again, which is awesome. And so today the climbing gym now opens at 10 a.m. on weekdays instead of noon. So I went around 10:30, climbed, lifted. Then I went and got food, went through the drive-through, got my food, took it home, and I'm at the stop sign, right about to turn into my driveway, basically. And the song SOS by Rihanna comes on. And I'm like, well,
Banger.
I'm gonna drive around the block and listen, because I also got an oil change this morning. This has been my most productive day in maybe months, and so I was like, I'll drive a little extra, and then I'm going around the block. Last second, I decide, instead of turning left, which would circle me back to my house, I'm like, I'm going to the park. I'm gonna eat my food at the park. So I drove to the park, ate my food, and then I walked around. I took off my shoes, walked barefoot, took off my shirt, and just like walked in circles around the park and called my dad. And then when I got home, I was still just like as I was saying earlier, when I'm drunk or when I'm sober, I'm just like, how can I exercise? So I went home and then I was like, I'm going on a run. And I will say, so while I was at the park, felt like 105 was like the heat index, which was honestly pretty comfortable with my like cup of ice from Chick-fil-A. and but then I went home and went on a run with no water, and running in that weather was not so good.
Handshake emoji. I told you I've been going on a lot of walks. Usually around dusk. Though when I went to the bird sanctuary that I mentioned, I was like, oh, it's a beautiful day. I should just go right now. Was very hot. Was in the middle of the day. Didn't have water. Didn't put sunscreen on. That sucked. But I'm with you there. Well, very fun to hear. Oil change, always fun.
And I'm about to go play basketball right after this.
Damn.
As soon as we stop, I'm putting on shorts, taking off this dress, taking off this bra, and going to ball up.
Damn, can't ball in a bra. Interesting. Well, let's get you out of here quickly, Edwin. I'm sure you've been up to a lot recently.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is with touching grass, I did quite a bit of that overseas.
Unfortunately, it was related to
due to a melee tournament.
But Sweden was still pretty fun to be in. America's much better. It's the best country on earth. Never betray the country. But
dude,
it was
nice.
nice.
I saw Mo at Wawa at 4 a.m. going crazy. He's loved it so much. They're capping so much when they're like, oh, we like trains, so it's better. No, dude. I've seen all of the Europeans when Popeyes can deliver to your hotel room.
Yeah, see all the Europeans when they enter a really large Target. then we'll see. Yeah.
Super Target.
But yeah, it was nice being there. Grindo was beautiful. I went on a bunch of hikes, took a bunch of photos, made some nice memories there. Stockholm was pretty interesting to be in. Also, I spent a day and a half there. Traveled, kind of walked around the city by myself. Had some nice food. The Swedish love their coffee. They have very good coffee. That's one part of the trip that I remember quite fondly as well, outside of obviously the tournament and Festa itself. But yeah, it's always fun leaving America, just traveling to other countries and stuff. I used to do it a lot when I was younger, and obviously like because of Smash, I do it a bit more now. But next year I kind of want to keep traveling. Because I'm gonna take this fall off from going to a bunch of events, just because I kind of have a bunch of personal obligations that came up during like Big House, and I've just been traveling every single month since January, actually, come to think about it. So it'll be nice to kind of take a whole season off from traveling. But next year I want to kind of get back in the swing and maybe even go somewhere as far as like Japan.
We're sending you to Tuvalu.
Twitch.tv.
We're gonna a GameCube and a GameCube controller. You're gonna make a bunch of steel ride-ons out there.
Can you just like get a bunch of website domains from there?
Yeah, get a lot of
go to their government
Yeah,
and be like,
maybe.
I'm taking these.
Yeah, that's my touching grass segment, I guess.
Very cool, very cool. I hope that you get to do that. And I would love if it were on your own dime, not the Melee Stats dime, but time will tell. Anyway, Yeah, I want to see these pictures because I have seen nothing of your trip except for you saying that you want to talk to your dog, and you telling me who you saw in various states of undress. Anyway.
Oh my. Okay, yeah, this is a. Yeah, I'll mention it publicly. Why not? Yeah, this is one thing I gotta say that I've had a lot of fun making fun of the Europeans on the show, but one thing I gotta say, it I think it is admirable that in the environment. So what there was a sauna at Festa, and I genuinely think it's very cool and admirable that there are many Smashers who are totally chill with just being naked in a hot, sweaty sauna with each other and walking around. I think that rocks. I'm super pro body positivity. I'm super pro comfort and camaraderie and everything. I just I was just not expecting that. I was not expecting that to be like a thing in Festa, and I just it says something about the culture which I'm coming from in America, and the culture over there across nationalities. And I genuinely think that's a very cool thing. It was not for me, but I just it was just something I noticed. Yeah, and I'll always remember it.
We'll get
You
you
will
in there
always
one
remember
day.
it. I'm sure.
We'll get you in there one day, man. Festa 2026. You'll be in there in the nude, talking about how you destroyed fucking Mr. Boboget or something. Anyway, Zamu, thank you so much for being on here. Let's make sure you get to your basketball. So I appreciate you being on the podcast. It seems like you have a very busy day, yet you still made it time. You also, for the audio listeners, this is Girl Month. So
and I actually was streaming right before this podcast, and I did not feel like shaving and doing my makeup and whatever. And so I just I've been working out all day, and so I just streamed shirtless. And you explicitly cannot be female presenting in any fashion on Twitch with your nipples showing. So if you want to see my boy nipples, you can see my previous Twitch stream. And I was saying during that stream how those were two words that I did not like saying in a row, and I just did it again.
Well, Zamu, if people want to see your boy nipples, where can they do so?
Twitch.tv/Zamu_SSBM. Or more likely, reasonably, is twitter.com/Zamu_2. Maybe twitter.com/Zamu_SSBM too. Not two, but also. That one will probably also have that. But yeah. And then, and shout out to Eggdog.
True, shout out to Eggdog. Well, thank you so much for being on. Always a wonderful time to have you on. And support this man. Girl Month is coming to an end soon. How's September looking for Girl Month? Are we there yet or no?
No.
Come on, people.
I will just present pretty and looking good.
It's a failure. A lot of institutional failures in America, of course.
Unless you at home want to give me a lot of money, then I will gladly dress like a girl for the next month.
Exactly. I think one of the biggest failures that we're seeing is no Girl Month continuing into September. If you want to make sure that Girl Month can continue, you can do so. Support Zamu over Zamu_SSBM on Twitch. Follow on Twitter. It's Zamu2 _.
No, follow me at Zamu_SSBM also on Twitter. But if you want to see my boy nipples, then follow Zamu_2 on Twitter.
All right. Mr. Body Positivity over here is getting very uncomfortable, so I think we should probably get out of here very quickly. Go follow him over there. You can look at his boy nipples. You can not. That is up to you. That is yours to decide. As for us, there are no boy nipples or girl nipples or non-binary nipples to speak of. But
it's crazy.
If you
Neither
follow
of them
us
have nipples.
If you follow us over on Twitter at Melee Stats Pod, we post daily results. We post links to articles that we write. We post a lot of stuff over there. You can follow us there. MeleeStats.co is our website where we have articles out weekly, such as Monday Morning Marth and When's Melee. You can watch these episodes live on Twitch, twitch.tv/MeleeStats. You can watch them as they air, or after they air, on YouTube under the Melee Stats archive, which I don't generally do this, but we are pretty close to 1,000 subs on that, which I believe opens up monetization for the second channel. Very happy to keep doing these shows, and I'm sure that monetization on these episodes will not get us much, but as it stands right now, these are something that we don't have monetization for, so thought I'd just shout that out. If you want to go to a channel that does have monetization, Melee Stats is our long-form content. You can go rewatch all those great videos that we put out, and if you love everything that we do and you just want to support us in the best way possible, patreon.com/MeleeStats. Very happy to get to talk to both of you. I know that it's been a turbulent month for a lot of us. Edwin, you worked a lot of the rankings, then you went to Sweden. I worked a lot of the rankings, then I went to SmashCon to work more. Zamu, you have to shave a lot.
I've had to shave a lot, and I went to a bunch of tournaments.
And you went to a bunch of tournaments. So I appreciate you both for being on. What more fun way could you end a very fun month by coming on here? So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you at home for watching. We will be back next week. Actually, for real. Because I know I said this on our last episode, and I lied. But this one is real. Because I was sad because of the rankings. It was a lot of work. But rankings are done, so I will keep my promise. We will be back next week to talk about all the stuff that happened at Shine, to decide if ZAIN just did kind of win #1, or if Lunar Dusk wins, what that means. So we will be back next week. Check us out then. Peace.